Welcome to Blame the Bible study where we actually read all the horrible parts of Christianity they don't like to talk about in church. Please turn with me today to the book of Judges, chapter 3, where we're going to hear about how the Lord keeps giving the Israelites to the kings of other nations and then delivering the Israelites from the king of that other nation, usually by violently eliminating that nation's king or army, right? What a wonderful gift that the Lord has given them. The gift of being in charge of his people just long enough until he changes his mind and decides to unalive them and their king. Verse 1. These are the nations the Lord left to test all those Israelites who had not experienced any of the wars in Canaan. He did this only to teach warfare to the descendants of the Israelites who had not had previous battle experience. Isn't that wonderful about the Lord? It's the Lord's boot camp. He just wants them all to be trained in battle experience. I mean, he's like their, commander-in-chief, general God. He's the Lord, and he's taken us, out to the training fields. We've got to train up and be ready to continue committing genocides and, ethnic cleansings everywhere we go. He was just looking ahead. He was prepared. Okay. Verse 3. The 5 rulers of the Philistines, all the Canaanites, the Sidonians, and the Hivites living in the Lebanon mountains from Mount Baal Hermon to Lebo Hamath, they were left to test the Israelites to see whether they would obey the Lord's commands, which he had given their ancestors through Moses. I mean, wouldn't you just love to be a person just born through no fault of your own into one of these other tribes? And how lucky you would be that the Lord allowed you to live for a time until, his purposes came to fruition and the Israelites ended up, unaliving all of you. The Israelites lived among the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. They took their daughters in marriage and gave their own daughters to their sons and served their gods. That don't sound good. The Lord doesn't really like that. The Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. They forgot the Lord their God and served the Baals and Asherahs. The anger of the Lord burned against Israel so that he sold them into the hands of Cushan-Rishathaim, king of Aram Naharaim, to whom the Israelites were subject for 8 years. But when they cried out to the Lord, he raised up for them a deliverer, Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, who saved them. I wonder how this deliverer is going to save them. The Spirit of the Lord came on him, so that he became Israel's judge and went to war. The Lord gave Cushan-Rishathaim, king of Aram, into the hands of Othniel, who overpowered him. So the land had peace for 40 years until Othniel, son of Kenaz, unalived. So God gave them under the control of this other kingdom, but then when they cried out, he rose up, a deliverer to save Israel. Let's see if it happens again. Verse 12, again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and because they did this evil, the Lord gave Eglon, king of Moab, power over Israel. Getting the Ammonites and Amalekites to join him, Eglon came and attacked Israel, and they took possession of the city of palms. The Israelites were subject to Eglon, king of Moab, for 18 years. Again, the Israelites cried out to the Lord, and he gave them a deliverer, Ehud, a left-handed man. Ooh, left-handed. Oh, wow. See, Christians, there's nothing evil about being left-handed. Even a left-handed person can be a deliverer of the Israelites. He was the son of Gad the Benjamite. The Israelites sent him with tribute to Eglon, king of Moab. Okay, so he's going to deliver the Israelites, but they're sending him with tribute, like they're sending presents to this king. He's like the delivery guy. Oh, verse 16. Now Ehud had made a double-edged sword about a cubit long, which he strapped to his right thigh under his clothing. Surreptitious, he presented the tribute to Eglon, king of Moab, who was a very overweight individual. Really, Bible? Really? Are we shaming people who are overweight? After Ehud had presented the tribute, he sent on their way those who had carried it. He was like, bye-bye, all you servants who helped me carry all these offerings into this guy. But on reaching the stone images near Gilgal, he himself went back to Eglon and said, Your Majesty, I have a secret message for you. Right? Intriguing. The king said to his attendants, Leave us. And they all left. Ehud then approached him while he was sitting alone in the upper room of his palace and said, I have a message from God for you. As the king rose from his seat, Ehud reached with his left hand, drew the sword from his right thigh, and plunged it into the king's belly. Beware of the graphic violence in the Bible. Even the handle sank in after the blade, and his bowels discharged. Ooh. Really? Do we need to know that? See, the fact that they're talking about this man's weight and his bowels discharging is just a way to, make him seem ridiculous and, disgusting, and kind of degrading him and dehumanizing him, because the people telling this story, of course, were the Israelites or their descendants. So they're passing this down, talking about, look how this horrible, gross, ridiculous person was so easily, unalived by our hero, the deliverer, Ehud, right? It's very immature and just disgusting. It's not disgusting because of the man's weight. It's because of how they're talking about another human being and just devaluing their life, right? It's not uncommon. Ehud did not pull the sword out, and the fat closed in over it. Then Ehud went out to the porch. He shut the doors of the upper room behind him and locked them. Right? He's like an assassin. It's like Assassin's Creed up in here. Verse 24, after he had gone, the servants came and found the doors of the upper room locked. They said, he must be relieving himself in the inner room of the palace. Oh my goodness, they think he's on the pot. They waited to the point of embarrassment, but when he did not open the doors of the room, they took a key and unlocked them. There they saw their Lord fallen to the floor unalive. So read this at your own pace, but Ehud escapes, right? He just absconds, right? He's so brave. And then he goes out to the hill country and blows a trumpet, and the Israelites come, and then they take possession of the fords of the Jordan and don't let anyone cross through that. And then they struck down, verse 29, about 10,000 Moabites, all vigorous and strong. Not one escaped. Brag much? That day Moab was made subject to Israel, right? They flipped, they reversed it, and the land had peace for 80 years. Then there's a lovely side note. After Ehud came Shamgar, son of Anath, who struck down 600 Philistines with an ox goad. He too saved Israel. So he unalived 600 people just with a cattle prod, y'all. Believable. But don't blame me, it's in the Bible.